All right, welcome everybody to another episode of Forging Brains podcast. I'm your host, Riley Kirkpatrick, my co-host, Gavin Cooper. Today we got an awesome guest, Carl Vaya. Carl is from Virginia, and he's been pretty heavy on the scene for the last, 4 or 5 years. Carl's been whipping ass and taking names and doing pretty good at the WCB. And he's also a guy that has no shortage of things going on at home. And I think it's just an interesting perspective because Carl's not a guy to make excuses. He is just keeps hammering on and just gets everything done. So I'm excited to have everybody hear a little bit about Carl or more about Carl because we had him on shortly with the rest of the WCB team back a while ago now. So welcome, Carl. Thanks for taking the time to talk to us.
Absolutely. Yeah, thank you for having me.
You're an AFA tester as well, right? Or what is
Yes,
your
sir.
association with the AFA going on right now?
Yeah,
You're busy with that as well.
yeah, tester and a certification instructor. Um, I was kind of voluntold that position a while back, um, just because it leads back to having the facility to have the Virginia certification for a long, long time. The guy that I first apprenticed with found us, and that's how I got into horseshoeing, and he was involved with the certification process. And so I've been hanging around the certification since I was like 12, 13 years old, and before I
Oh,
was a
jeez.
horseshoer. So our farm kind of became like the place where everybody knew, like, oh, that's that place where the certification happens. Oh, you're the guy that has the farm where we do the certification. So everybody kind of related me to that guy early on in the scene, and so as I became a farrier and started chewing and worked on my certification, then it was just easy to just just to still host it, and then it became easy to just help out being a tester, and then when the certification instructor thing happened with the AFA, they were like, well, we need a certification instructor in our area. Yeah, Carl do it. You know,
Carl will do it.
okay. So that's kind of how I got drugged into that, which is fun. I enjoy doing it. But since then, when Travis Burns kind of got things rolling down at Virginia Tech, that became a way better place to have a certification. Just the whole school environment. The arena where we do the horses down there has attached classrooms that are heated and air conditioned and out of the weather. You're not in an indoor riding arena with, of course, it's always a miserable weekend of weather when you try to have an
Yeah.
event. And
Yeah.
everybody opens, when someone opens the arena door, wind blows open the door and blows all your paperwork all over the dirt floor. And, you know how it is being at a certification. So it was nice at Tech because we could just have a classroom environment and be way more organized.
Mm-hmm.
So I haven't done a certification here in a couple years. So, but yeah,
How
that's
did
my
that
involvement
come
with
out in the
AFA.
first place? Did your folks how did they come about coming there to your place initially? Before you said when you were like 12 years old, you weren't the one to say come here.
Right, yeah, it was the guy that I apprenticed with. His name is Harold Plaster, and he moved down from Pennsylvania to an area just north of me, about 10 minutes, and
Okay.
just to be more involved with the Virginia Horseshoers Association, they were having a dilemma of finding a place, and he was like, "Well, hey, I just moved to Louisa, and I passed this horse farm that has 30, 40 horses, and they have an indoor. Maybe I'll stop in and say hi and introduce myself." So that's what he did. And my mom, being kind of cheap, was like, "Wait, you're going to shoe a bunch of horses for free? Yeah, come on. Like, I don't care what you do." So that's how that got going, and then that's how Harold got to like also start our horses because like I said, I was just a kid, but my mom thought it was really cool that the guys were hot fitting and fitting horses, and it's like, this sounds like I need to get one of these guys in this arena to take over, being my farrier. So
So from that
that's how I
moment
got started.
on, is that kind of how you got wanted to become a farrier at that point? It was just by being around it that early, or did you
Yeah,
know before that?
yeah. I didn't want to be a farrier at all, because the guys I've seen come through our farm before that guy were just a bunch of local guys in a stuff thrown in the bed of a pickup truck. Their life story was always miserable. They didn't want to go home. Like, they were sore, tired, like beat up, and it just didn't seem like they had all their stuff together. So I was like, I don't know if I want to be, um, I don't know if I want to be one of these guys. But the guy that I ended up apprenticing with seemed like that he had his act together. Like he drove a vehicle that looked like it could make it from A to B. It looked like he could afford clean clothes and nice shoes, and so it's like, oh, maybe you can make a living doing this. So now I wanted to be a mechanical engineer, so I was going to school for that, and that guy being our farrier at the time, I'm in the barn hanging out with him, and he's asking me as a high school kid what I wanted to do when I grow up, and he's like, "No, you're not. You're a farm boy. You're going to be a horseshoer. I don't care what you say. You're stupid. You don't know what you're going to do, but I know what you're going to do." And so that was okay. I guess I'll try. you know, the ball took off from there. So,
You got exposed right then, just by
yeah.
seeing, people hot fit and everything like that, instead of having to go down the wrong path and struggle at it and then find the find the way.
Yeah. Yeah, the best thing he ever did was getting me involved right off the bat with the great group of guys, the Virginia Horseshoers Association. They're all cool dudes in that group that even you guys know, like Scott Collier and John Kern,
Mm-hmm.
and that group is, they're, Russ Height, everybody knows Russ and knows that group of guys, and so I've been, they've seen me come up from, you know, a kid, so
Just a little squirt.
yeah,
So
yeah.
do you feel like you kind of owe for like the Virginia Association? Like, is that why you end up saying yes to a lot of the things? Because you're like, well, if it wasn't for them,
Pretty much, yeah, yeah. I mean, I have a hard time saying no anyway, you know, but I do owe them a lot. They got me on the good, a really good path, and they told me from the get go, the best thing you can have is your reputation. So don't go out there, don't make an ass of yourself in front of your clients, and show up on time, be punctual, and just look like you want to care, and you want to know why, and you want the horse to do better, and you'll have a successful career. And I owe it to them. They got me off on
Absolutely.
that foot. So
How long was it until then you got into like the WCB and wanting to go that route of like competing and everything?
that's my biggest regret, because I started with the WCB in 2015 when they came to Virginia, and that's the year that the hurricane kind of shut down the state fair, and we
Oh,
were all
that's
tucked
right.
away in that covered pavilion. That was my first WCB event, but I did join the WCB in 2007 because that guy that I apprenticed with was like, "Hey, he like his idols are the same as ours. Like he's like, hey, there's a WCB starting up. They're going to have a super clinic in Houston. Like all the names of the farrier industry are going to be there. They're going to have like 10, 15 clinicians, and you don't know who they are, but you're going." And that's why my number is 187, because I was that guy standing in line to join, the opening day of the clinic. So that was their first membership drive, I believe. So, but I thought that the people there were like the elite of the trade. But in 2007, I was just barely getting out on my own. I wasn't certified or anything yet. And I was like, man, those guys are like, that's the target. Like that's the end goal, is to be like those WCB guys. But I thought I
Mm-hmm.
got years to get under my belt before I can even consider that. But I didn't understand how it worked until I got involved. I didn't realize there was a novice and a category one, two, three, four. And if I
So
knew
that's
that,
kind of what held you back for 8 years from 2007 to 2015. Is you just thought you weren't
yeah,
necessarily there to be there
yeah, I
or to
thought you
that
had to
level.
be like the top journeyman, top open competitor at the local contest before you can even think about entering. And that's my biggest regret. But you got to think 2007, 2015 wasn't exactly the the world of smartphones either. So
True.
no.
you weren't sitting on the toilet on Facebook in 2007. Like it. So you didn't really get a full grasp of things unless you got the newsletter. Or dial up with my crappy internet in the country, and get on a website, which never
Yeah.
happened. So So no, that's my biggest regret is not getting involved sooner. Once I got there and realized that there was a tier system, and I immediately went into category two because I had done well in open into local at a local contest, and I knew they asked me if I knew how to run a Coke fire. It's like, yeah, I have one at home. I use it all the time, and they're like, okay, well then you're a cat two. So, oh, okay,
All right.
sounds good. So,
Put me where you think. I'll go
yeah,
wherever.
yeah. So,
It's
and
crazy because it's like completely the opposite of that. They just want get you in there. Get the experience right from the get go. Right. Like you don't
yeah,
necessarily have to be a top competitor to sign up.
absolutely. And I didn't realize it until I got there. And the reason I went that time because I still thought I wasn't quite ready for it, but Russ Height and I were president and vice president of the Virginia Horse Showers Association, and Russ knew Craig, and them making contact, we were like, hey, let's ask the WCB if they want to come to our state fair, and Craig was up for it. He's like, oh yeah, I'd love a different venue, and the biggest thing is, can you guys be there to get Coke picked up, at the shipyard and have it available, and can you bring horses? So Russ immediately calls me and he's like, hey, I, would you bring 10 horses to the contest if we get the WCB here? And I was like, wow, that's really cool. Yeah, I'll don't worry about it. I got the horses. And
Easy as that.
easy as that. Yeah. And it was so cool because I was like, I knew I was going to be judged by bringing those horses there. I was like, man, these guys are all going to see my work because these are all our riding school horses, here at the farm. And um, I was like, I got to make sure I had these guys looking great. So like, I kept them on a strict, like 4 to 5 week schedule for like 3 shoeings leading up to it, and I had 3/4 fuller handmaids on every horse, and I was like, man, I hope they all keep their shoes on. I don't want any hoof wall missing on any horse. And I remember that was the first time I met Tom Peterson. He came up to me. He's like, hey, I've never seen you before, met you before. It's good to have you here. But did you bring these horses? And I was like, yes, sir. He was wearing the team logo, and I was like, you must like, I can't believe you're talking to me. But yeah, I brought these horses, and he thanked me. He was like, this is one of the best group of horses I've ever seen at a contest. It's like, I thank you for bringing them, and they're standing good, and everybody's feet are really nice. And I thought that was just a cool compliment. I'll never forget because I was like, wow, I can't believe one of the team guys thought that my horse's feet looked nice. And it wasn't until I go to other contests I realized that they were just like roping, some wild broodmares out of a field and dragging them into the arena. I was like, oh, okay. Now I see why they enjoyed the horses I brought. So
Yeah, it's like you're lucky if you get one that has foot on it, right?
yeah,
Not some beat up.
like we have a couple here that like I have one slightly clubby foot, and I'm like, that doesn't make the cut. Nope, can't take that one. Like want, want them all to be exactly the same. Exactly the same.
It
Everybody
was
has
Kind of
to
funny.
makes
weigh wrong.
for
Now we go to competitions and we think like, I don't care what the feet look like as long as they stand. As long as
Yeah,
they stand good, he could have
yeah,
barely any foot. I'll be happy. Just I
yeah.
hope it stands well.
or you want it to stand good, but you kind of don't mind having the worst foot on the floor because then you kind of give a hall pass to do something cool. Like the best I've placed in shoeing classes were on a foundered broodmare that had prolapsed sole, and I put like a Dutch rocker on it, and and like a full rocker with a
Mm-hmm.
toe clip, and that wasn't even called for in the shoeing class, but I talked to the judge and I was like, hey, I gotta do something kind of crazy to get some wall contact. And he was like, man, good luck. Do what you want to do. And I think I placed second in that class because it was just something different. I improved the horse, and
Right.
it's easy to take a 10 foot and lose points through the go, but it's
Oh
kind of
yeah.
fun to take a 6 foot and gain points through a go. So that's kind of so
I think
sometimes you
that's
look
a
for that.
good one. I think that's a good one because like that's what you hear everybody talk about all the time. They're like competitions. They don't care about the horse. The horse doesn't matter.
Yeah,
They just do what they got to do to it. Where like you just like that was such a good example of a time that you improved that horse greatly. Like maybe you did almost a more stellar job on at the competition than you would every day, just because just so many people you knew so many people were going to look at it.
yeah,
You know, where it's like, man, that obviously improved the horse. That was all for it right there. That's a
Mm-hmm.
That's a pretty good one.
Yeah, and you can't like help but get the judge backed into a corner when you're improving the horse as you go.
Yeah.
And they're
Can't
like,
fault you for it.
yeah, and you just kind of, and then if you can pull it off as you go, then you watch your points increase through the class. But if you have the dream draw pull up and you don't get it perfectly flat, or you leave one little corner, or they whoa, it's not
Oh,
perfect. 8-5,
Yep.
like, because they see what you could make it, and they judge you on that. But if you take something that's like, man, good, this is a terrible draw, and you kind of make something cool looking out of it, then anyway, I know that was
you
a
no,
long.
you almost show them the impossible real quick, because like where you told him, you're like, yeah, I got to do something wild to make wall contact, and he's like, yeah, whatever, man, you ain't making wall contact. That's not happening. Like, and then he
Yeah,
comes back, he's like, that motherfucker did it. Like
yeah,
he got contact.
yeah. It's like the inner rim was like maybe an eighth inch thick, because I deep seated it so much, and like you could tell that it was off the sole. Like, it
That's a
was like
solid bowl. Yeah, that's pretty
it was
good.
like, all right, props.
Yeah, exactly.
Bet.
Like, man, yeah.
So sometimes it's
If you
risky,
can get
but
the judge to get me like, I don't know if I could have pulled that off. They can't help but score you pretty well on that.
yeah, yeah. And then there was one time too. I think it was when Craig was judging. We had to do tool and fuller on the horse with Hunter Heels, just like the team challenges with the like pleasure fit on the hind, the lateral, and Hunter fit. The rest of the way around the horse. And of course, I drew like a stovepipe foot where the heels come down and like hook in real hard. And I was like,
Mm,
this foot will never have a Hunter heel on it. It needs. I want to put a 3/8 3/4 shoe on this with double reverse heel checks. And
right.
Yeah.
so I was like, God. So I called Craig over. I was like, Hey, come here. I want you to look at this before we get going. And I was like, you know as well as I do that this is going to look terrible with Hunter heel. Like something's not going to be covered. And he was like, Well, what do you think? What are you going to do? And I'm like, Well, I'm going to hard stop it and put reverse heel checks on this Hunter front. He was like, Okay. And I'm like, So I get your hall pass. I'm not Hunter fitting, right? And he's like,
Hey guys, do you like that Christmas morning feel of opening up a box, not knowing what's inside, feeling all sorts of excitement to find out what's inside? Well, let me tell you, you can feel that excitement every other month with a subscription to Farrier Box. Most farriers want to be competitive, whether it's attracting top-notch clients or winning contests. They take the tools and tricks of the trade used by today's top farriers and ship them to you so you have what you need to take your career to the next level. Go to farrierbox.com to start your subscription and use code BRAINS for 25% off your first month's box. I repeat, use code BRAINS for 25% off your first order. I know I like receiving packages, but I like it even more when it's a surprise, but also knowing I'm getting cool tools and tricks from Farrier Box. There's nothing out there like it in today's world of farriery, so you might as well go and level up with Farrier Box. Go to www.farrierbox.com and use code BRAINS for 25% off your first month's order. Thanks, guys. Let's get back to the podcast.
Yep. And so it looked like a concave shoe. Like I had it a hard stop all the way around.
Yeah.
And I think Dylan was striking for me. And I was like, Dylan, it's going to get a little Western. It's going to get weird here in a second. I was like, but just trust me. It's like, what are you doing? It's like, I'm going to hard stop my fullering on this tool and fuller front. And he's like, are you crazy? What are you doing? I was like, it's going to be all right. And so anyway, but it turned out pretty cool. Like I placed good in the class. And,
That's what I was just about to ask. How'd you place with it?
yeah, I don't remember exactly, but I mean, I was the top 3 or 4, somewhere in there, and so
But
sometimes you
you,
got to do, something out of the ordinary. If you have an out of the ordinary foot, and you do something a little different, you talk to the judge beforehand. Sometimes it's kind of cool to work out.
Yeah,
But if
but
you don't pull it off, it sucks.
what a vision that you're able to have that you're like, obviously drawing from your experience, you can just already see on that foot. I know a lot of guys would be like, nope, it's a hunter fit, and like they would have never even asked Craig. They would have tried to do it and failed. I'm probably one of those guys, and but for you to see, you're like, I'm gonna do something completely different, because that's also not just like doing something different there. You're doing something different in your go. Now, like
Yeah, yeah,
you don't get to do the go how you had practiced. And so
right.
it's like, is that it? Is that hard for you in it? Like, are you having to like double check things going to the foot? Oh, sorry. Or are you having to like measure a bunch? Like, or is it pretty easy for you to just pick up a new game plan?
Yeah, it's not too bad. Sometimes you got to like walk a few circles with your ruler and not talk to anybody for like 3 or 4 minutes just to like go through the process. And it's like, okay, I'm not putting a hunter heel on, so I'm not actually growing as much as I would. I need more steel because I'm doing a reverse heel check. I'm gonna probably think, then you just kind of like start popping through how much more steel you need, and then just kind of go off the hip, kind of go with your gut feeling. So and then
So
this same process has kicked me in the butt though, because there was times I picked up a foot, especially out west where the feet are dry, and I'm like, man, I'll draw a hind and it looks like a front. I'm like, I might be able to carve this into a hind. I don't think I can get into the sole, so I call the judge over and I'm like, hey, is it okay if I just make a really ugly front shoe for this and just try to survive? It's just going to be a roundy. Just giving you a heads up. It's hard, the foot's hard as a brick. It's going to be a roundy. And they're like, okay. And then I already set them up for what I'm going to do. But then I start trimming it, and then a big false sole pops out, and there's a beautiful hind shape underneath of it. And then I end up putting like some stupid false lateral quarter on it and go like full on like pointy hind. And then
Spade.
they come around, they're like, you didn't do anything what you said, and then I got a terrible, and then I don't even place it all in the shoe. So sometimes you got to be careful, like telling them too much of your plan because it can bite you in the butt too. It's like, I shouldn't have said anything. Like, because then they judged me on what I said I was going to do, and then I didn't do anything close to what I was going to do, what I said I was going to do. So
Yeah, but could anybody have known that there was going to be that big old thing of false soul in there to pop out? Like, you didn't see that
yeah,
before, and the judge didn't see it before, did they?
no, no, they were like, okay, yeah, it looks hard as a brick, make a front, just survive. And then I got in there, and then it just popped loose, and you can't help but chase it. Then when you get that lump come out like in front of the seated corner of the bar, and it's like, well.
Mm-hmm.
And as I started going around, I reached for my nippers and started like popping sole out with my nippers, and I was like,
Committed
oh
now.
yeah, I was like,
Yeah,
now a minute, now I
yeah.
just turned this into a 20-minute trim.
We're in deep now, boys. We're in deep.
Yeah, right.
I guess
And
the biggest thing I took away from that is like, don't be afraid to ask over the judge, get their opinion, or if you have a game plan, tell them it, and then show intention or whatever, and then you'll be able to walk away with points out of that if you are able to do it the way you explain it, right?
yeah, yeah, absolutely. That's definitely what to take away from that is don't be afraid to talk about it, especially to the judge. You know,
But okay, now switch your head from you being a competitor and you being a judge. If you were a judge and somebody told you like, "Hey, this foot's pretty hard," same situation, and
yeah.
you come back around and it's a sweet hind shape and they fit it well, are you gonna hold that against them?
That's a good point.
That is a really good point. So like that instance that I was just that experience I was just talking about, I didn't fit it that great. You know, I
Mm.
I was like, oh, there is a hind, and then I made a hind. Like I shot the lateral quarter way off, and then came back. So like I exaggerated it even more. And so, but yeah, if they pulled off, like if I was judging and they said this is a kind of a front shape, bear with me, I'm going to survive the go, and then they popped out a hind and they made a beautiful hind and it fit, I don't think I would have faulted them for it. But I did not pull it off on that go.
Did you
That
have too
was,
much steel at that point?
uh, I think I did have a little too much steel. Yeah. And I think I tried to hide it in the quarter, in the lateral quarter. And yeah. I think Tom Peterson was judging that one. And he was like, nah. Like, he
Yeah.
was, he was not happy with me at all.
He's not happy.
Like, So,
Tom's good.
but yeah,
That it's a super hard one judging things though like that of how people are gonna do something. You know, it's like that. It's been something that's been running through my head a bunch, like for the past year, even of like more trying to think of as a judge than a competitor, just to trying to get that mindset of how they're thinking, and like that. I think that does happen subconsciously, where judges are kind of like already in the pregame, already have thought of like what they would maybe do to the foot and everything, and then when it's different, they're like, "Whoa, that's not what I would have done," or like that's not what we talked about.
yeah, yeah.
And
That's when points start going down. Yeah.
yeah, like so you've judged some things like how do you go about judging the horse, and how do you like even how do you go about scoring the horse, scoring a trim, and how do you score something that's a 9 compared to a 7 or in between? And does that, I know this is getting a long-winded question here, and does that differentiate when you are then scoring a horse for, say, certifications?
Well, the certification, you're just scoring everybody against the book. So we're trying to not allow anybody else in the arena have any effect over that one candidate with the book. And it's did they just provide a safe trim and a safe fit that is functional, and where does it lie within the parameters that they give us in the book on how to score. So when you're scoring a contest, you're trying not to tell yourself that's what I would have done or what I wouldn't have done. It's did this guy do that job better than that guy and then that guy than that guy, and you try to have like a common playing field where you can let them all lay. It's like, okay, this guy made it to the 10-yard line, this guy made it to the 20-yard line, this guy made it to the 30-yard line. So that's what goes through my mind when I'm judging a field of of players,
So
basically.
you're grading you're
At a
grading on
contest.
a curve almost.
I guess you would say like a curve. Like in the back of your head, just from having experience at contests, you're like, okay, if a foot's presented like this should be, because you got to have a starting point in the curve. So it's like, okay, the base should be a 9, not the base, but like the most solid thing you can do to that foot could be a 9, and then if it's above a 9, it's like that's solid plus. Like that was really cool. Man, the lines and the knife work is just beautiful. So then you go above a 9. So like that's where I start. So if you see things that looked unnecessary and unintentional, then you start going below a 9. It's like it really wasn't necessary for them to do this to this frog. So you start
Mm-hmm.
cutting off points, and at the same time, it really wasn't necessary for them to leave these wavy lines in the sole or different planes in the sole. So you start cutting
Oh,
off tenths of a point
okay,
below that,
so
and
say, would that be a whole point then? You're like on like rough knife work, you're an 8 now.
it's depending on the severity of it. Yeah, like as long as it looks like, because the worse it gets, the more unintentional it looks, and then yeah, then it starts being a whole point. Yeah, and then in
So
my
how do
opinion,
you?
if you start getting below a 7, you're starting to get pretty detrimental to the horse at a contest.
Yeah.
Like I shouldn't say detrimental, but it's like wow, they really got after this. You're going to be below a
That's a
7.
really close little corner. That's a really close corner there. 7 to a 9 is
It's only
only
2 points. Yeah.
only 2 points. And so that's like
Yeah.
you're going
Well,
from like solid job to close to blood in two
well,
points.
Well, yeah, but at the same time, you never want a shoeing contest to be a trimming contest. You don't want it all to be decided there. So you want to keep the trimming score within reason. You can't let the guy who trimmed the foot kind of short give him a 6, but then he does a beautiful fit and finish, but he can never recover from the short trim. And in the shoemaking, he could have deep seated the shoe, or didn't he barely burned. Just got that thing fit on there and actually took care of the foot. So it's like, wait, he was maybe short in the trim, but he just lost the contest because it was a trimming contest, not a shoeing contest. So you kind
Yeah.
of need to let all the scores play out.
But
At
it's
the end of
a
the day.
it's I'm gonna play devil's advocate here. It's a horse shoeing contest, not just a shoeing contest. So trimming is pretty important. Like, and
It
that's
is.
where
I'm not.
I'm not a good judge, because like the first time I judged with Poor, I'm like, that's a fucking 4.5 over there, and Poor's like, whoa, you can't give somebody a 4.5. Like, you can't. It's like, well, like, to me it's like detrimental 0, and we're going up from there, you know. But it's like, but
Well,
it is
of
like, if
course.
you gave somebody a 4 in a contest, it's not going to be good.
Yeah. Well, I'm not saying those points don't exist in scoring a contest. Don't get me wrong. When I say like, start being detrimental to the horse, I shouldn't say like, blood and taking the horse's pulse, because that is a
Yeah,
4,
yeah,
3.
Yeah.
Don't yeah, don't get me
yeah,
wrong about
No,
giving
no, no.
someone the
Yeah.
proper points, but like I haven't judged a contest yet where it's been worse than I shouldn't say a certification, but a certification, I've stopped plenty of people for having a 3 or a 4. And I'm like, sorry,
yeah.
look, just take a deep breath, sit in the back of your truck. We're going to go over this real quick. Like I have that
Mm-hmm.
conversation at certifications, but every contest I've judged so far, I enjoy having a little speech to the novice after the contest, and I thank them. I'm like, thank you, novice, for allowing me to allow you to nail your shoes on, every one of you.
Yeah.
Like that.
Not be
That's
That's a
stopped.
big compliment. Everybody got to finish. Like, thank you
Mm-hmm.
for
yeah.
not having me be the bad guy to be like, this is completely not nailable. No, you can't nail this on, because I never want to be that guy. So because they can proceed, if they can proceed to the next part of the contest or a certification, they have to average like a 7 score. If it's below that, then you're kind of borderline. Like, I don't know what they're going to do with this. Like a certification, you got to stop or go if they don't have a certain amount of points through the trimming aspect of the test.
Yeah, I don't know if I've ever known of like during a contest or something, somebody's had to stop because of blood or something like, or be stopped because of blood. Do you know of anything
Right?
like that?
Yeah, I've seen it twice.
Oh, really?
Oh,
Yeah,
Yeah, that's not
and
good.
okay.
usually it's the one time I saw a guy knife too deep, bled the horse, and the other one he just stuck the crap out of him, just
Oh, with a nail.
with a nail. Yeah, like stuck him real good. Like, it was a fountain. Like, it was not good.
So, Carl, if you're
Well,
judging like a WCB or something, there's 40 competitors at that time. How is it that you can keep 40 different guys, because they're all not all happening right at the same time? How can you
Yeah.
keep in mind number 1 through number 40 as it's going on through like I think it's like what, a 6-hour day, 7-hour day of just shoeing? How
I
can you keep
I
that
can
in
only.
mind, like this one's better than that one or whatever?
It's got to be tough. Yeah, I've never judged a field like that before. At least it's throughout. Like the most spread I've ever done was like 4 different shoeing rounds, just like at WCB. But at least it was like a blanket of one division, and then they spill into the
Oh,
next
okay.
round. Like novice, and then you have intermediate be in this back half of the second and go into the third. So you got to think just about one round ahead of you. Then
Yeah.
it spills into the open in the afternoon. So you're kind of comparing 3 different groups to each other. But at WCB, you're comparing 40 people in the same round.
Yeah.
In the main perspective. So I would think that to keep that straight, you would just have to have that standard in your head of what ideal is, and then you start adding and adding points or taking away points or tenths of points from there. I've seen shoeing scores be really really close. Like you can between 10 placings might only have a half a point and their total shoe score. Like class score, and I can see how that can happen. You look at 3 horses in a row and you're like, well, 8-8, and then you go to the next one, dang, this is just like that one. That's an 8-8, and I can see how that could be difficult, but just
Yeah,
trust the
it's got to get
system on,
split up. It's got to
yeah,
get
just
split up
trust,
somehow.
yeah, I guess you would just trust the system on how the points can separate as you go through all the scores, and just try to think about it as you go along, you know. That's why I think the trim score, unless you do something really heinous, you got to try to keep them within reason. You don't want it to be the deal breaker of the of the competition. Obviously, if you had a shoe that was an inch of covering the heels, you're not going to give that fit score an 8. It's going to be a
Right.
4. So
Right.
Yeah.
and if the trim was that bad to start off with, yeah, it would be a 4. Because I think there's more heinous stuff happens later in the class than in the beginning.
Yeah, I would agree. I would
Typically,
agree with that for sure.
like I've seen some really bad fits, and but they get on. They might not cover, but some of the foot or way too much of it.
Yeah.
So
So if you made a shoe list and you got your specimens there, are you going about your specimens kind of the same way? Like a 9 is if you copy my specimen. Like that's a solid 9. Like if you make one nicer than my specimens, that's going above and
yeah,
but
yeah,
if you make like below, then we start going down from there.
I would say so. Yeah, and then what's cool about though is that when they're on the table and they're just trying to match your specimen, at least you can look at them all at the same time and just start sorting, and just kind of have like a blend from nicest to worst as you go. And like I'll group them on the table. Like I'll look at well, at least this group of people actually made a right hind like the specimen.
Yeah.
Yay!
Yeah.
These I can't tell if they're left or right, so they're going to be here.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's a group down here that doesn't have all the elements. There's no nail holes, or half of it's melted
Well,
off.
well, a question Riley asked on the group page, the Forge and Brains Facebook page. What do you think goes into selecting a shoe list for a contest?
Let's see. I did see that the other day. I saw that question and I did think about it, and I would say practicality along with um, a forging exercise at the same time. It's how can you do a practical shoe but have a little bit of personality into it as well. So like when I do a shoe list, it's like okay, like making a just a straight back heart bar. Like I like doing those to enter that to a contest because it's very practical for these, the people to learn how to make a straight back heart bar if you're going to a just a local contest. But I'll add just enough characteristic to it that makes it challenging. Like the size of the frog plate or, you know, the shape of the foot along with the size of the frog plate. Just little things like that. So but
Yeah.
I think that with every shoe, like if you make a side bone, it's like, well, maybe I'll make a really exaggerated side bone, that has a real tall medial lift that, is like that little thing in there that they should see about noticing. And if they can pull off the characteristics that make it a little indifferent, like when like looking at specimens at a contest, you want to see the things that were important to them because that's like the little personality of the judge. Like we just had
Yeah.
Poe judging Madison, and you can see in each one of those shoes which element he cared about the most. And so you try to focus on the personality characteristics of those shoes. And it was like the shape and element. It's like, okay, you try to pull that off. If you do anything else, you pull off those things, they're going to stay alive. And like the he liked he had us do concave on the horse, and I remember there being like a Facebook discussion on toe clipping and safing the hind. So like Mike had a
Dude,
like a demonstration.
you fucking killed it. I'm just gonna throw
Well,
it out there now. Like,
That's what I was just
fuck,
thinking of.
you
well,
killed it. Like,
well, but see that the reason that happened was because Mike was going to judge everybody on how they safed and toe clipped concave. I was like, well, I'm not just going to cone a clip in it and then just fold over to the left. That's what everybody else is going to do. So like I want to make the one thing that he's going to look at, because unless you do something heinous to the rest of the shoe, it's just turned like there's not much character to the rest of concave. You know
Right.
what I mean? It's not a game of section.
Yeah, it's
So
hard to judge, right?
I was like, I'm going to give him a really cool safe toe with a clip on it, and I remember Mike handed my shoe back, and he was like, "Dude, what? What?" Like, and then
yeah.
just walked off. Like,
Did
and
you get best shod foot in your division?
I didn't get best shot foot, but I did win the class. Yeah, the
Okay.
Yeah, Money got best shod foot for that day. I didn't do like my trim. That was a trim that hung me because the foot didn't look like it had anything. So I told Mike, I was like, hey, I'm just going to like dust down the heels and leave the front half alone. He was like, all right. Well, I dusted the heels down. I started getting my seat of corn, and I found a little track, and I was like, oh, there is foot under here. And then
Here we go again.
yeah, so he gave me an ash trim for it. He was like, I thought you were going to stay off the front half of that foot, so I killed your trim score. Well, do
Damn it.
what you got to do, like, So I think that was my worst score of that class was my trim, so that kind of hung me up. But looking at specimens though, like that's why it's important to kind of find the personality that's in each one and kind of I don't want to say hyper focus on it, but you want to make sure you pull off that part.
Do
You know,
you
so
care letting out your secret of how you did that toe?
yeah, well, I noticed that nobody was really standing around me until I was drawing my clip in the boomerang, and then all of a sudden, off the brim of my hat, I could see about 30 shoes or feet standing around my anvil in
Yeah.
a huddle. They were like, "What is he doing? Why is he drawing a clip in a boomerang? I don't understand. My head hurts." And but no, I just made a slotted bob punch that was like a half-inch wide, and I bob punched through the hardy hole in the straight and just knocked a big, like lump at the bottom of the concave. And then I quenched the inner rim in the water bucket and then came back and took the round side of my hammer and just folded the outer rim over my source hole. So I just had like a bob punch at the bottom, but I mended the fullering together and then went
So
back
this
in
is
for
something you practiced beforehand. Then you had this in your head,
yeah.
like this is what you were going to do.
Yeah, I shot a handful of horses before I left like that. I was like, I'm going to have this down to a system, and so I found out that if I left my source and then built the whole shoe, I could never. Every time I thought I wasn't flattening it or pritchling, like the source would slowly go away as I was building the rest of the shoe. So I struggled with getting too small of a clip. So I was like, well, maybe I'll go ahead and just draw it, and then I don't have to worry about smashing my source hole. So that's when I came out and I cracked my toe. Then I would then I would just shear my clip into it, off the heel of the anvil, and then I'd caliper for my toenails and just take off running with the shoe after that because I didn't have to worry about messing up my source hole. And then like shearing the clip back to the outside edge, I was able to then let it camp on the back corner of the anvil and finish tidying up my saving, while it was sitting there. So
Yeah, because you had like no teardown on the outside rim. It
yeah,
looked like it
yeah,
looked like it was just brought back. As I saw it, I stared at that picture for a little while. I was like, motherfucker, that's sick. He
Yeah, it's
knocked
pretty
that one
sweet.
out.
I've had more people message me on Facebook like, how did you clipped it, right? And I was like, yeah, there was a clip on there. How'd you do that?
Yeah, you're like, oh yeah, there is.
Everyone can know now how you did it.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like,
So it was
did
fun.
you even tell any of your teammates how you're gonna do it?
Yeah, no, because what's really
Okay.
cool. Yeah, no, what's really cool is last year we were able to talk to the Turnkas about having that as a perk as making the team as staying on the same horse at a WCB so that we could have
I
another
noticed that
opportunity
in the shoeing
to work
schedule.
together.
I was wondering if that's what it was.
Yeah, we talked to him last year about it. We kind of gave him the bug like 2 years ago, and it was like, oh, I don't know. And then we kind of kept after him, like, no, it'd be really cool because like Tool and Fuller Day, if we do Tool and Fuller Horse, we can leave the same block and the same anvil all day, and that'll actually give us more opportunity to help other people because we only need one striker, so we can just keep revolving on the same horse. I was like, and then if you're at an event like Madison, it's an opportunity for Craig to get on the mic to be like, hey, for all you spectators, if you want to see like our team should be it may not always work out that way, but like our poster child, like go check out horse number 5 or 6, and like this is our target. These are our top qualified guys that want to do the team, and they're doing a horse together, and they're working as a team, but individually at the same time. It's like so we still try to pair. So like before that contest, I was like, hey Dylan, I'm going to do something really weird with concave. You want to help me try to figure it out? And he's like, yeah, I'll work on it. And I said, all right, well, I'll work on it. And he would send me pictures, I'd send him pictures, and we just go back and forth. And then he was like, I just can't. He was like, I don't know what you're doing with that. So I helped Dylan kind of walk through it a little bit. I was like, so it's important that we pair on that horse. So his job also had that same, folded out a rim and toe clip on it. So yeah, I was, obviously talking to my teammates about that and bouncing ideas off of them. I was like, hey,
Mm-hmm.
how does this one look? Or how's that look? And, they're always there for you.
Yeah, I
So,
seriously had the thought go through my head because I was looking at the shoeing schedule and I was like, how the fuck is it that Troy got on the left or Troy got on the right front? He's in the last go, and I was like, how did they all get on the same anvil, and then they all got their foot that they normally shoe? I was like, this must be rigged or something. But then I was thinking, I was
yeah,
like, oh, they probably talked to Craig or whatever and made it
yeah,
possible. But
yeah. I don't want
that's
to say
pretty
that it's
smart.
rigged, but it's just they put it in their algorithm, for like placing people in the order that they sign up. They just like highlighted out that anvil for the day and just let it all fall into
Yeah,
place from there. The
No,
only
I
I
way
think
think
it would
it's
it's a
a
like
good
good idea.
idea.
yeah, the only way it would really mess the system up is if somebody on the team never didn't make the live shoeing. Then just some random person gets put in. So hopefully the team always makes the shoeing. Going
That'd be
forward.
that'd
Oh,
be embarrassing.
Yeah.
I
You'd
wonder if
have
that's ever
you'd
happened.
have to you'd have to just never come
Oh.
back. Ever.
Yeah.
Just like sorry guys, I gotta sail away.
Been on the team 5 years now, and now
Yeah,
didn't
gotta
make it.
go.
So, sayonara.
Yeah, how many times have you been on the WCB team, Carl?
That's my 5th year.
Oh,
So it's it's been a cool ride. It's fun that I first my first year on it was 2019. So that was my 4th year competing, and so it's I've been on the in the W I've been competing with the WCB on the team more than I haven't been on the team. If I mean, like, so that's
that's
been kind of
crazy.
cool.
That's really
So
cool.
yeah, so it's been a fun ride. I've enjoyed
It's
every
pretty fun, but it's
minute.
pretty busy too. Cause like, so you got Chase. Chase is 3 years old, right?
Yeah, 3. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. That's why I'm
and
hiding in my basement. Because he's upstairs in bed and he's like toddlers are ticking time bombs. They can
oh my
start
gosh,
making noise any minute. And
yeah.
we got some noisy dogs, so yeah. For the watchers, excuse me, I'm hiding in my corner in the basement. So, but yeah,
I think you're
he's
all right.
it'll be 4 this summer. So
Man,
um,
it goes super fast.
it does, yeah,
How do
yeah, it
you
sure does.
juggle all that between family life, competing, your farm, everything else that you got going on?
Family, yeah, good family. That's the best way to say it. Just support from home. Just having everybody help hold things together while I'm gone, and I hold things together while they might go do something, and just, just take turns. Works out pretty good. So,
Yeah, cause you are a third generation, correct?
well, 7th and 8th upstairs
Mm.
on the farm. So we've been here a long time. So,
Yeah. What year did you guys start that farm?
oh gosh, it was in the early 1800s that like the first group, like it was my dad's side of the family. They came
So
here
that'd
from
be
Indiana.
pre-Civil War then.
Um, yeah, there's a Civil War graveyard here. Um, yeah,
On
there's a
the
lot of
plates.
history. Yeah, yeah, it's pretty cool. A lot of the family from that, or
Pretty
the people.
cool, but it's like haunted as fuck.
Yeah, there's a oh, I wish I had a picture of it. There's a really cool cabin back there in the woods. It's like an old log cabin that's hundreds of years old, and
Really?
the graveyard is right beside that cabin. It's pretty neat.
Is like a
A lot of,
graveyard is like a battlefield there, or just because like people were there at that cabin and then they died there,
I wish I
or
knew that
just hard to
story.
know?
Yeah, I think that I don't think it was like dragging people out of the field to right there after a battle. I don't think it was like one of those kind of graveyards. I think it's a like a family like a
Cemetery.
cemetery. Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
So,
When you were on with Riley there at the contest or whatever, you guys kind of briefly touched about it, and as I was editing it and listening to it, I was like, man, that's pretty cool. All the history about Carl's farm, and like I was kind of
Yeah,
want to know more about it. And I like
yeah,
history myself, so that's what
yeah,
I think's cool.
yeah, yeah. The like my mom's side of the family, they're the it goes back to the Whipples, which John Whipple is one of the signers of the Declaration of Independence, and I have his desk upstairs. So
What?
yeah, so that's pretty neat. Yeah, and
Damn.
that
Do you
plantation.
know if it's the desk that he signed it on? Like, did it come
No,
across
I'm
his
sure.
desk?
No, I'm sure it probably didn't come across. I don't think it went from. Who knows? I
Yeah, I
don't know
don't
what.
think it did.
I doubt it. I think they all
Yeah,
went to this.
They
All
went to
went to
one
sign
place.
it. Probably so. Yeah, yeah. That's my history is
I don't know. I would tell
terrible.
people. I would tell
It's
people that it was signed on that desk for
no. It was just
sure.
it was his desk that he had in his plantation home over on the James River, and it's just kind of neat how it's kind of come down through and wound itself here.
So were they in Virginia? Virginia was on the north side, right? Or were you guys on this?
Yeah, we're
Were you
below the Mason Dixon. Yeah, so
you guys
we're
you
the
guys were in the
yeah
Union?
Richmond was the capital of the Confederacy. So
You
we
were
were
you're
in
all
the
south.
Confederate.
Confederacy.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, you got to get rid of that desk.
Yeah.
So you gotta burn it. That's not good. This plantation
That's
desk,
history,
bro.
man.
That's
That's
not
history.
Yeah.
good.
The
That's not a
so
good omen right there at
well
all.
no the worst part about it is the Whipples were known as like the largest trade like slave traders on the river. So
That's what I
like
was thinking.
I'm more worried about how many people were bought and sold on that desk than
Exactly. Exactly.
anything
That's what
else.
I was
But
thinking.
it ain't like you guys did any. You didn't do anything like that, so it's not no skin off your back. I wouldn't say.
Yeah, that's ancient. That's ancient history. Yeah, but it just you
You
can't help
know,
but think it's like, man, a lot of people's lives might have changed on this desk.
this is something to think about. Yeah.
Yeah,
No, that's how has the farm been doing the same type of farming all the way through, or how much has it changed?
no, no, it's changed a lot. Um, gosh, like what's funny is we have 5 tenant houses on the property, and um, 3 of them were constructed during the Great Depression. So because my great grandfather had a like a general store, which kind of helped out our whole community. You could go there to get, you know, horse feed to a pinstripe suit to chicken eggs to,
Candy.
yeah, like a good general store. And there was a mechanic, there was a shop in the back, get your car worked on, get tires, the whole works. Well, part of that is he had a water wheel powered sawmill off a big water wheel down here, and that's our pond. You've probably seen some of the WCB photos of our team getting together in front of a horse. There's a big pond in the background that's been on like some of the their
Mm-hmm.
Facebook posts or whatnot. But
Oh yeah.
that pond goes through like a big concrete spillway, and they had a sawmill down there. So he would sell lumber at that store, like back in the
That's
20s.
pretty
Well, they
sweet.
would. So the road in front of the farm was dirt then, so like it was a big project to get to a proper town. Like this was where the whole community would go to get material. Well, he had a bunch of employees that would just come over and work, but it got to where it was so expensive to go back and forth to home, and it was like a journey that they would just stay here. Well, then they ended up taking wood from the mill and just construction little or putting together little houses so they could just like stay here Monday through Friday and then go home on the weekends. So there was a one
Like a
building.
bed and breakfast almost for the
I
time.
guess you would say that. Yeah, they're just like little 1,200 foot, your 1,200 square foot little cottages,
Mm-hmm.
and they're all 100 plus years old now. And like the one was a was a it was a woodshed that was they stored firewood in for the store because there was a bunch of little potbelly wood stoves through there. Well, they would end
Mm-hmm.
up just go out and just sleeping in the wood pile at night and then go back to work the next morning. And then they asked Mr. Russell, my great grandfather, like, "Hey, can we put an addition on the woodshed so that we could be a little more comfortable when we stay here overnight?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, go for it." And so now it's a little 2 bedroom little house, and it wasn't until the late 50s, early 60s that they actually put running water in there for a kitchen, and then they had an outhouse in the yard. which you just kept, digging you remember the old outhouses, there's just a hole in the yard.
Oh yeah.
When it fills up, you dig a new hole and you drag that house over top of the new hole. So that, that's how that place ran for a long time. It wasn't until the 80s that they actually put the toilet in the house, with its own
Wow.
bathroom.
How
So
long did the sawmill run?
gosh, I mean, I never saw it run. Um, I'd probably say till the early 50s,
Is
because
the
my
water wheel still up, or has it been
no, that's
destroyed?
all
Or
rotten and gone. The only thing left down there is just some old concrete walls where they deferred the water through it, and there's some
mm,
steel pipe laying kind of near it where maybe the axle of the water wheel was. Like there's a little bit of that there. The
yeah.
building is still there that it was housed in, but it's all lean in and sunk in, and it's just kind of it's just a shed that the horses can hide out in every now and then because
So
it's
what
in
do
one
you
of our
guys
fields.
currently like? What do you guys farm? Do you guys do farming, and then obviously you have horses and
Yeah, horses, cows, and we raise hay. That's about all we
hay?
do now. Yeah. Um, like my great grandfather had Herefords. We have Angus and Simmentals right now. That's mostly because of my wife. Like she used to show cows as a kid growing up and do the beef expos and all that. So she's all into it. So she's the cow expert in the family for sure. I
Yeah.
just drive the truck and open gates. And
And eat them.
yeah, just do it all. And then so like I like the joy I have at home is raising hay. I'm an equipment nut. I just love heavy equipment and tractors and diesels and
Of course.
so it's like my opportunity to be in a cab of a tractor for half a day and just listen to the radio or Fortune Brains podcast
There you go.
and
Almost a way to just to like decompress for a little bit and just kind of let your
it
brain
is.
shut off.
It's peaceful. We have a beautiful piece of property and just to not think about horses and go out and just mow hay and scream at the weatherman. You know.
I bet though, like, how many times did you figure something out on a shoe or something like that while you're out there driving the tractor, thinking about something
That was the other
Oh
completely
my
thing I was
different?
gosh, I
thinking.
got
Yeah.
that from Lamar Weaver. A long time ago when I was first getting into competing, I talked to him about his practice routine, and he said he builds shoes while he's driving down the road, and
Oh, just in his
that
head.
made no sense to me for a few moments, and I was like, oh, okay. And he said, yeah, I just build them over and over again in my head because I've figured out how and where steel goes and how it gets there, and think about section and he says I like to build it a few times in my head before I do it in the shop, and then I only do it once, and then I build shoes in the truck again for a few days, in my head, and
Must
then
be
I come out
nice.
and I do it once again. And I was like, I'm going to have to adopt that because I can't, like, I don't have. I should never say I don't have the time, but I'm not in the shop every day, hours on end. I get very limited time to go out there, and it's usually at 9 o'clock at night. I'll go out there for an hour or two and sort some things out, especially the week before a contest. I'll try to go out there every night and for like an hour or 2 hour window. But I build a lot of shoes in my head, running equipment,
Yeah.
driving down the road. So
No, I think that's a huge one. That's I remember. You remember the Spin to Win magazine? Like, I don't know
spin to
if you
win.
guys,
Oh,
if you
team
guys,
roping.
yeah, it's a team roping
Oh,
magazine,
oh, okay.
and there was a picture of Speed Williams eating cereal, and he had like there was like a thought balloon above him, and he
Bubble.
was he was rope he was roping steers in the thought balloon, like, and like that was the thing. That was like the caption was always roping,
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
I like
yeah.
yeah, I do the same. Like, when I make random projects, I usually that's the first time I made them in my hands, but I've like remade it in my head over and over again, and kind of ran into the problems that you're gonna run into, like,
Yeah, just
before you ever
envisioning
even
it.
start it. So what does, like, if a shoe list comes out, what does practice look like for you right now?
Well, all right. So the next shoe list is Edgewood that Andrew
Yeah.
Nielsen's judging. So I haven't made any of them yet. I've just been home for a week from Madison, but I've already thought about every one of them. Just riding down the road, working, shoeing horses or whatever. And so, like, the first thing I got to notice is like how much different from the original section did the shoe end up. Like with Poe's shoes, they were nothing close to the original section. They were they were pretty thinned out. They were like the individual class. It's like, okay, I need to take in consideration that I'm going to have to really flatten these shoes. So that I got to think about that in the process of building it. But Andrew's shoes are like, wow, these are, like I shouldn't say wow, but like these are close to the section he started with. Like you look at a typical draft shoe and it's like, okay, is there like what personality in this masslet draft shoe that we have to make is there? And so it's for his shoe, it's a really nice toe and shape. So like the ag
Mm-hmm.
heels are kind of like straightforward. They're solid. There's nothing crazy about them. The section through the branches are pretty straightforward. It's just like a, a proper way to build a draft shoe. So it's like, okay, I just need to focus on having a strong clip, strong toe, and a good shape. And so on and so forth through all the shoes. You break down each one, and it's like, okay, I can tell what he's looking for in each one of these. So,
Do you think
so when
like
I go to
a draft shoe like that would be tough to judge amongst, say, 100 different of them now? Like if it gets to 100 or whatever, if it's something like nothing crazy in the shoe that would separate them, would that be pretty tough to kind of judge if you were in that shoes or in his
um,
shoes?
well, I would think that he would be looking for the personality in the shoe that he has. That's going to separate the whole entire top table from the other tables.
Mm-hmm.
And then it'll go from there. So like if you pull off that shape and that toe and that masslet, then you're going to be on the top table.
Yeah,
You know,
in the hunt.
So like I think if you categorize your tables as you go, um, for what shoes are like need the least amount of work to make it match the specimen, the higher up you'll be.
So the first time you go and
So
cut steel, are you just gonna go ahead and run the class then?
no, I never really run any class. I count heats. You have an hour, so like that shoe, or each class, I give myself 22 heats, and if I can get both shoes built in 22 heats, that gives me 15 to 20 minutes to check nails, check flat, brush them, file them. If it's a hammer finish class or not, you kind of sort those things out. But that gives me a 15-minute window after 22 heats. So
22
um,
heats total, not each shoe.
total. Right, correct. Yeah, between the two. So I know that if I go back and forth between two shoes 22 times, I'll have 15 minutes left on the clock. Because you think 2-minute heats, that's 44 minutes.
Yeah.
So
No,
it
you
so
don't hear
so
anybody really breaking it down like that very often.
so well that's just from me being an old math nerd, but um, if you break it down like that, then when I'm building those shoes for all right, like for Madison, that individual go, everybody was having a struggle getting that going, getting that class finished. So I'm like, okay, well, let me see what I can do with each shoe. So I built each shoe in like 13 heats each. I'm like, that's too many. I have to start having a different game plan on building these shoes in less heats. And so then I could get them built in 11 each one. I'm like, okay, now I'm in my window. I need to refine it, or if I can speed it up any more than I can, and then say, okay, I can actually. So now I try as fast as I can. Like okay, it's possible for me to get these shoes done in 8. So I don't want to do that because it's a hammer finish class. I don't want to speed through something and make it look heinous.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, so I usually don't ever do any time goes because it's pointless. For me to do that, I shouldn't say it's pointless. That's like a wrong thing to
Yeah.
say, but it doesn't benefit me. All I do is wear myself out for an hour and I cut the forge off and go back, go do something else. Because like after you do a
You're
time go like
gassed.
that, yeah, you're pretty gassed. Like if I turn right around and do another one, it's gonna be worse than the first one. So like I had my one shot and I blew it. But if I go in the shop, I'm like, okay, I'm only going to build this shoe and I want to count my heats and see if it matches the specimen. And then by the time the day comes around, it becomes muscle memory. You just roll through
Do you
them.
think like it gives you that time to think about it in between heats, like that you get to like stop,
Oh
evaluate,
yeah,
compared
yeah,
to like if you're in the clock, you're just like, oh, I had no time to even think about it. I just gotta
yep, yeah.
keep rolling.
Because a long time ago, I would do that. I would do time go after time go after time go, and I wound up with a pile of turds on the floor. I didn't really I didn't
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
go anywhere from shoe to shoe. But when I started doing each shoe individually and counting my heats, then every shoe got better, and it was good to see progress with less effort.
And
And
for like each evening, would you just be focusing on just like one shoe, or would you try to mix in both like individual shoes, or just be
I would
focusing
mix.
on one?
I would try to mix it up depending on my time frame. You know,
Mm.
sometimes like that French Hine we just had to make for Mike. That one was frustrating me, so I would think about it during the day. And I'm like, oh wait, I know what I'm going to do. And then like I would think of a cool trick while I'm driving on the road, like that. You know that like Swiss heel he had on the medial. So
Yeah.
Yep.
it was hard to get the section run up right ahead of that heel.
Get the
So
ramp.
yeah, because the mastlet would be in the way or whatnot. And so you know how you've seen some people twist the branch on a draft shoe, you know, to get it out of the way so you can build your heel quarter.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I came out on that branch and I just twisted it out the way, and I was take the round side of my hammer and forge all the way up to the inside of that, and that worked. I saved myself so much time doing that. I was like that. So I thought about that working one day, and I couldn't wait to get home to try it. You know, so I just worked on, you know, that was the only shoe I worked on that evening was doing a go
Just
or
that
two with
one.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
So
but
I wasn't there at Madison. Did you get to see the shoes in hand that Andrew made? Did he have them there?
yep. Hmm. Yep.
Question I
They
have
were.
is the side bone bar shoe. Is that one graduated on the medial side?
Oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
and then the bar is like tapered hard. You know, it goes from like maybe half inch thick all the way down to maybe
Okay.
5/16 on the lateral.
Yeah. I only got one picture of it. And it was from the ground, and I couldn't tell from that, so that's why I was
Yeah,
curious.
yeah,
Good to know.
yeah.
Cool.
Um, I
That'll
don't
be a
think I.
pretty cool one to go to. I don't think I'll make it to that one, and I'm pretty bummed out because Andrew's judging it. But it's how cool is that for you to go to of a guy that you've kind of gotten to practice with a bunch, be on a team with like, and now here he is gonna judge a bunch of work. Like, do you
Yeah.
feel like you have a leg up going into it?
No, I don't think I have a leg up. That's what's awesome about the folded tags at the WCB. You know, it stays pretty anonymous, so I enjoy it. But I'm really looking forward to
I
Andrew's.
don't mean in that way. Like, do you feel like you know his personality very well? So like you're gonna be able to give him what you know he's gonna be looking for.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, you kind
Like
of
Mike
learn.
even. You kind of know
Yeah.
Mike has these like little pet peeves, and you're like, well, I'm gonna stay the fuck away from those.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And I tried to do that. Yeah, for sure. Sometimes you overdo it, and or underdo it, but like you can kind of read that no matter who they are and the specimens, what they care about the most, because of the personality characteristics in each one. But yeah, I do feel like I know Mike really well and Andrew really well and what they would like, and um, I kind of keep that in the back of my mind. But it's funny how it comes back down to basics with anybody, so I don't think it's really any different than if anybody else was judging it. I'll be
Yeah.
honest with you.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it's intention, it's fit, it's flat, it's clean. It's then that's going to do well with anybody.
No, I
How
think that's spot on.
Yeah.
how's it been working on the team this year with our friend Troy Wood?
Oh, it's awesome. Yeah, he's a cool dude. Man, handy as it gets. Like it's just
It blows my
it's
mind
just
how he's only
storm.
been doing it for 3, almost 4 years now. It still just blows
Yeah.
me away.
Yeah. Like when he first made the team, we had our first practice. I was like, all right, here we go. It's like, you know, okay, let's rake him in. What we're looking for, and he just smiles and nods and goes, okay, and then and does it. And I remember doing our first horse together. It's like, what do you think? And I picked the foot up, and I was like, uh, yeah, just keep doing that. That works. He's like, no, really,
Shit.
tear it apart. And I'm like, you paired Stan. What did we say? Like, you did good, man. Like, this
That's
is
cool.
this
I
couldn't
think
get any easier.
that's what it is. Like a lot of it is with about him is just like you can show Troy something once or just tell it to him, and
Yeah.
he gets like he clicks. There's zero confusion, and he can make his hands do it. He's just like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, here you go.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's
Yep.
incredible.
Oh, yeah. It's like with bevels. Like those cool because he's never nailed a bevel into a foot. Or never nailed a ag heel
No,
draft shoe on ever.
dude,
And
so funny that like it was like a week or two before he knew he was gonna make the team, and we had like our last little team practice, and he brought me a bevel, and he's like, here's the first bevel I made, and like on the medial branch, he had beveled the inside of the medial branch with the safing. And so like the beveling matched the safing on the so the inside bevel like folded in on the medial, and I was like, dude, what the fuck do you do that for? He's like, well, I don't know. I've never made a bevel before. I was like, and you're gonna be on the WCB team like next week. Like this is
yeah,
fucking
yeah, you
mind
better learn how to do
blowing.
this.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Oh, it's
like
so cool.
in practicing for the Winter Classic, we had to put heels back on horses, and we had a practice, but my draft horse fell through, so we couldn't have a go. And he was like, "Man, I've been building these Akil draft shoes, but I never nailed one on." And I'm like, "Well, I guess you're gonna nail your first one on at the contest."
At the
And we won
contest.
that class. It's like, Troy, this never happens, just so you know.
Yeah.
No, he shot his first draft horse with me, and we were doing a draft horse demo at like some like big harvest festival with like
Oh
200
shit.
people standing around. He's like I've never shot a draft horse before. I'm like, well, we're just gonna like dumb
Yep.
through this. Like I'm not that worried, man. Like
Yeah.
I think you're gonna be all right.
Yeah, he's done great. Yeah, it's been fun. We're having a good time with the team this year. And we're going up to Canada to the World Clydesdale show again. So that'll be
Oh yeah.
a good adventure.
Yeah,
So
Riley and I were kind of chatting about that the other day about the tow bar. You guys have to put the tow bars on there up there, right?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, we were just chatting like, fuck, whenever we do tow bars, it seems like our flux doesn't want to work and they just fall off or something, and it just be our luck during the go.
yeah. They're temperamental.
Yeah.
Either go. Luckily, we got them all stuck last year. I hope we stick them all again this year. And you definitely learn how to punch those shoes too, because like it's cool when you get a toe bar on a draft shoe. When you go to nail it on, it's like you see it entirely different because you pitch those toenails out and the nail shank is rubbing the toe bar. And it's
Mm.
like, well, I'm gonna punch the
Oh
next one
yeah.
different.
Yeah.
Because all you
Struggle.
see is the nail head and the fuller, and you don't think about the track it took before it got there. So you want to make sure you're punched down in the branch far enough. And
That
Mm.
makes
I learned
so
a
much
lot.
sense
Yeah, I
because
was trying to
like
make it as tight as I could to the tow bar, and we did our first horse together last year. I was like, "Whoa, this isn't going good."
there's there's a lot of I bet you had a lot of working horses around like your farm area too, but there's a lot of working horses around here, and you could see on some of those old tow bars where they would bevel the inside, so it almost looks like a tool and folded section getting nailed on.
Huh?
And I
Bevel the
won
inside of the bar itself, or the inside of the
Yeah,
draft shoe?
the bar, the tow bar,
Just the bar?
the toe bar is almost like a tool and folded section.
Huh?
And
That's cool.
I've always wondered as like, oh, maybe it's for clean out or something like that. But now after you said that, I wonder if it is just purely this guy was like, well, I want the tow bar all the way back, and I want it the fuck out of the way when I'm driving the nails.
Yeah, maybe that would make sense. That would be way easier if that back sharp edge was gone, nailing up the
Yeah,
toenails.
that's what it is. It's just like hammered up, just at a slope. Huh, that's
Interesting.
interesting. Yeah, it's something you wouldn't. Because I would have never thought. I've never nailed one on, so I've never even
Me either.
had that worry. So
Yeah.
what's your plan for competing from now? Are you just gonna keep riding this out, or
Yeah, yeah, just riding along, see how it goes.
Like another 5 years, 10 years?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, imagine I'd like to. I mean, imagine everybody takes a break at some point. I just don't see. I don't see anything telling me right now that I have to. You know,
Yeah.
so I want to keep going. So we'll see how this year pans out. Hopefully, if everybody in the family stays strong and healthy, and you know the wheels stay
Right.
greased, just keep rocking on. But if something trips up around here and I need to be home a little more often, and it'd be easy to just be like, well, maybe I'll take a break for a little bit, tidy up things around here.
Are you guys
So
going to
I'm
any international contests on the team together this year, other than
just
the
that one,
Canadian?
and yeah, just that Canadian one. That's the only one. Other than that, we're doing the Southeastern Team Challenge down at Joey
Mm-hmm.
Heights.
You got to go
So
to the Australian one a few years ago, didn't you?
yeah, yeah, that was pretty cool. Yeah, the
Yeah,
ECA.
what was that like down there?
Um, it was neat because I'd never been to Australia before, so it was a kind of a neat to see a different culture, and the people were nice. They were super hospitable. The food
Mm-hmm.
was good. Jukes told me when I got there, he said, "Make sure you get a meat pie." I was like, "All right, I'll get a meat pie."
I was
And he
waiting
was
for him to
right.
tell you that.
so, um, so I had a meat pie every day at that fair. It was pretty.
So it was good.
Yeah, it was really good. And then it was cool because like you could tell Australia was like America in the '80s. When it comes to like rules and regulations.
Yeah.
Because they had a big arena there where they had a monster truck show and a demolition derby, and like there wasn't a fence anywhere. Like you could just go in the arena if you wanted to. Like
God
you
damn.
know like they drove the trucks like through the crowd to get to the arena. Like and
That's a good time.
it's like I just went to a like a redneck event from the '80s. Like that's except it's today. Like,
Yeah.
you know, so it was kind of cool. They were
That sounds amazing. It's funny, like the Australian people I've met are never what you think they're gonna be like. Like the first one I met was Mick, Michael Saunders. He
yeah
came and just
yeah
stayed with me, and he's like, I was like, you are American. Like you are a
yeah
redneck American.
With an
yeah
accent.
Yeah,
yeah
exactly. It's like,
definitely.
man.
It's funny how like there are rednecks in every country that I've gone to. There's
Yeah.
and we happen to find them. They find us, one of the two.
Well, do you think it's
Like
just because we're horseshoers that we're just mingled in, or?
I think it's a little deeper than just horseshoers.
Yeah.
Like they we went to Canada. This was when I was on the team with like the Buddy Apron team with Russ Height and Mike Poe and Travis Burns back before I made the WCB team. We were like, hey, let's go to that contest in Canada. It's like was it Goshen or no?
No, it's Connecticut.
Yeah, not Connecticut. What was it called? It's just north there. It's on the east side of Canada. It's not far. Oh, I'm drawing a blank. But anyway, we get there and we check in and the guy hosting was like, "Hey, we're going to have some barbecue and burgers and stuff over at the house, and if y'all want to come over, come." Which I think the WCB team went. I think the AFT was there. Like it was cool. We get there, they were blasting anvils. The guy had a rebel flag on every piece of equipment there. Like his whole refrigerator door was a rebel flag.
In
Then he had
Canada.
this in Canada, and I'm like, am I
Where
in
are we?
Alabama or am I in Canada? Like I was like, this is the biggest. There's more rednecks here than are back at home. And of course, like me with my farm, I have all my local buddies, which I think you guys have met. My friend Ronnie, like he's a diesel mechanic. He's gone with me to a couple contests, just hang out. He helped me work on Craig's truck. So he's like my neighbor, local buddy. That comes over and we just get in trouble together. We
Yeah,
fix
shoot the
equipment
shit,
and
drink beer.
yeah, shoot rifles off the back porch in the middle of the night. And so like we went to this guy's house. All of his like redneck neighbors came over too that aren't horseshoers. So this one guy shows up in this like blacked out Peterbilt with like triple turbos on it.
Oh
It's like,
fuck.
check this thing out. Like this is
This
bastard, bro. Like they're
Yeah.
they're rednecks everywhere. Like that was pretty cool. I felt right at home. Like,
It's my definition of a good time.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Blow
That's it. It is
explosives
like
and
a certain type of people always finds a certain type of people. You know what I mean? No matter what you do for
yeah,
a living or like where you're from, we all
yeah,
kind of will gravitate together, and it's like
yeah,
end
yeah,
up finding each other because it is like there's other horseshoers that are involved. Horseshoers, I don't want nothing to fucking do with. It's like you're not my type of people. Like,
Right.
we aren't going to the same things,
Yeah.
and you aren't into the same things I'm into. It's like,
yeah,
but it is
yeah,
like the people like competitors mostly, like go to a WCB, you're like for the most part these are my type of people, like because it just kind of
yeah,
generates that type of, or I guess that's the type of people that gravitate towards it.
What's
Yeah,
Craig?
like-minded people. Yeah.
Yeah, what's Craig saying that it is? Your tribe attracts your vibe. Your vibe attracts your tribe, or something.
Yeah, exactly. It is
Same
true.
thing.
Absolutely.
Well, Carl, a question we like to ask people, our guests on the show, is who would you consider to be on like your Mount Rushmore? Basically, 4 people that you look up to and hold in a high regard and respect.
Oh man, just in general. Gosh, where would that all begin? I should have known this question was coming and had an answer for it because I remember hearing you ask the other people on the show. Um,
Well, we've asked a bunch of people, and I still don't have my 3 and 4 answers yet. So,
Yeah.
just one and two.
yeah, just 1 and 2 so far.
Um, well, I mean, I would probably, if I don't have my number one as my wife, like that would be the smartest number one answer. I
It
look
would
to up
be.
to the most. Yeah. So, and then of course my dad. Like he taught me everything I know, aside from horseshoeing. Just how to run a business and um, just run a farm and fix about everything that needs to be fixed. Electrical, plumbing, carpentry work. You know, and then after that, I would say the most inspirational person in my career would be Craig. Just right off the bat, he could tell that I needed help, and he gave me really good advice and really good help, and showed me some really good basics on on being a successful competitor, and so that was really cool. So he would be up there. Um, Now I probably have to think about the fourth one for a while. So
Do you
maybe that'll.
think being a successful competitor has helped you out in your shoeing business?
Oh my God, I can talk for another hour about that.
Well, I think a lot of
Absolutely.
people misconstrue that, like, oh, he's just good at beating on horseshoes or whatever. But
Yeah, no, I could literally just run my mouth about how monumental that is being a competitor as being a good horseshoer. And it's it's amazing how you admit to yourself as a competitor your faults. Because if you're a good competitor, you find your faults and you conquer your faults and you get over them and you move on. Well, that happens in your business too with your horses that you work on every day. And I remember the guy that I first apprenticed with, like I said, he was a tester and he was all in the AFA and all that stuff, but he wasn't an avid competitor. And he believed that the certification was not real horseshoeing. He's like, this is just a test. It's not everyday work. Don't do that every day. He's like, you got to toe clip for the test, but when we get away from here, you forget how to do that. Like he was a set him back and out the back kind of guy, and
mm-hmm.
every horse had the same shape from quarter or side clip to side clip, like no matter what.
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
so anyway, so I started my business shoeing like that. Like all the vets really loved me because they I called myself the Terminator. Because that's what you know the guy I rode with. He was like, man, you're not afraid to take the toe off of them. And I'm like, it's what they like, isn't it? Like, and I was just going after it. I was doing that for years, and then all my feet just had this like staple shaped kind of bull nose kind of thing going on,
Oh
and
yeah.
I'd blame it on all kinds of things but the shoeing, and then when I started competing as a like a WCB competitor, I was like, well, I can't toe clip any of my clients' horses. I can't show them that I'm fitting feet, with their horses. I want to practice on our horses at home. And what happened is all my horses at home went from like these nubby, nasty little staples to having like straight hoof wall and quarter and shape and depth. And I had to eat a lot of my words when I went to back to all my clients, and I had to tell them that I've been messing their horses up for a long time, and that if they
Yeah.
trust me, I'm going to fit them a little different. It's going to look weird at first to them. I was like, but I promise you their hoof wall quality will be better, and we won't be losing as many shoes. We won't have missing hoof wall where the nails are and the side clips, and they're like, are you serious? Are you admitting to me that you screwed my horse up? And I'm like, yeah. I've learned the hard way. I'm sorry, like, but it's gonna. If you'll bear with me, I'm gonna switch gears, and and I kept most of my people because I was like, just give it a chance, give it 2 3 shoeings, and if it's wrong, if you can't show, if they're not sound, if you can't do what you want to do, I promise I'll go back to what I was doing. And they're like, okay. Then sure enough, like every client horse hoof quality improved, and it was really cool to see them like keep tabs on me too. They were like, "You're right. You were messing my horse's feet up." And I'm like, "Yeah." And I swear I'm going to get better. I'm actually going to pay attention to the front half of the foot now, thanks to my peers with this, you know, with this competition ring, that I'm hanging out with. It's like they all have really successful careers and um, have really nice horses, like really nice feet. So I want to have nice feet. So anyway, so it's only gone better since then. And then like it got to the point where I would hyper focus on different aspects from whatever advice I got from the previous contests. So one of my most memorable moments was a concave job. It was a front foot toe clipped, and I asked Bodie to look at it, and he looked at it, and he was like, "Were you even trying to put the toe clip in the center, or you just didn't care?" And because it's at 1:30, it's not at 12 o'clock, and I was like, what are you talking about? Why are you relating this is foot to a clock, And he was like, look, and he took his ruler and laid it right up the center sulcus through the apex. He was like, this is where the toe clip needs to be. I was like, oh my god, I didn't even know that's what you looked at. I thought I just had to be somewhere between the toenails and it didn't matter. And I was like, I can't believe I've made it this far and I never looked at that. And it's
How
like,
long do you think you'd been competing up to that point, or just like shoeing at that point and like just aiming for the toe clip in that general area?
oh, this is in 2016 that he told me this, so a long time.
Yeah.
I passed my journeyman not caring where the toe clip was. It just happened to be okay, like somewhere, like I mean, I wouldn't have it like heinously like over next to a toenail, but I
Yeah.
would obviously clip where my center dot was, and I would just do a general offset for every foot, whether the foot was more or less offset. And I'd always wondered for years. I'm like, how are they figuring out that this one needs more offset than that one? You just get your heels right and pull it back. What's the big deal,
Oh, so you're just basically putting it smack dab in center, but you're adjusting the shoe to cover.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I was just twisting the heels around to
Yeah.
where they were right length and it stuck the toe clip in, and I'd made it a long time just doing that. So anyway, like, so then all I could do was go to every one of my stops and see where my toe clip was. And every one of
Oh,
them was the tick off. I was like, oh my God, that's terrible, And so then I hated all my work, And so then I was like, okay. And then I started understanding offset and started building shoes different. And it was, I was like, that was a pretty monumental remembering. Like that was a good thing to remember was that thing that Bodie told me about. And then center heel, center steel. Like I'd kind of had a grasp on that, but then, that kind of got dialed in competing. Now I can't help but not notice it covering a horse.
Right.
It makes me
oh
angry.
yeah.
Like if it's not quite there, I'm like, I gotta go back to the anvil, and, bring it in or out a little bit, and and then it's just crazy how tight my clinches stay and feet stay gathered up, got depth to them. So yeah, being a competitor has changed my shoeing career tremendously in a good way.
It makes you so self-aware.
Yeah, very self-aware. Yeah.
And you're like, you know it's possible, right? I think that's what happens, like maybe even not self-aware of like self-accountable, where like maybe those other guys are seeing it too and be like, whatever, I gotta move on with my day, it's not that big of a deal. But to like you,
Yeah.
like that's a big deal, it sounds like.
Yeah, it was a super big deal to be self accountable and to see the feet get better and better as I move along through each phase of my competition career. To where now, like I like to help if I can with like my apprentice or anybody that's around me about being efficient and being efficient with seeing the arcs of a foot and then understanding that there's no corners or flat spots in a coffin bone. And as soon as that started clicking in, I'm like, yeah, like it's soft ovals. It's either a short squatty one or a long narrow one, and you have three bends in it, whether it's a front or a hind, and you just think about that while you're trimming, and then fit came faster, and then fit came easier, and so like the personalities and a in a judge's shoe list, you see the personalities in the feet as you're trimming them every day,
Mm-hmm.
so everybody has that standard shoe that they make off the anvil when they're in the shop making a front or a hind. Like, if you stack all your practice shoes up without a horse, they're all look the same stacked up.
Mm-hmm.
So you have that in your head. You're like, you know what your standard is. So you're looking at the horse you're trimming, and you're like, what characteristic is different on this one than my standard? And then you take care of their personality, their characteristic that's different. And um, I did like a fitting clinic at Wellshod, and I told everybody there that um, one thing I focus on is as I name feet, which is kind of dumb and goofy, but like I like calling some feet
What do you
Karens,
mean you
because
name them?
like 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 I just give them names, like a Karen, is like a name that gets beat up a lot, in these days. But like, so if I get a foot and I cover up the left side and the right side, and the one, like the left side does not look like the right side, so I'm like, this is one bipolar foot, and this one's gonna get you in trouble. Don't talk to her at the bar, like this is, you know, like this one's gonna call the vet on you every time, because when that owner or vet looks at that foot and you got like a hind lateral and a front medial, something's wrong. Like they're like,
Yeah.
so that's going to get you in trouble every time. Like every Karen I know gets you in trouble every time. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
so anyway, so I think about that when I pick the foot up and it has two different shapes from medial to lateral. I'm like, oh, Karen, we're going to fight, aren't we? Um, I think about that at the anvil, and I like watching
What
movies.
do you?
So what's that movie, Gone in 60 Seconds? You got Eleanor is like that.
Yep.
That
The
car
Mustang.
that Nicolas Cage. Yeah. So it's like my perfect shape that I make at home is my Eleanor. So when I draw that foot at a contest or everyday work, I'm like, hey, Eleanor, and I just talk nice to her, and then all I have to do is just trust my ruler and go make a nice shoe, because it's going to go right on there, you know, and
I
so then
think of
I think,
like if you're calling them names, I'm thinking like you see a club foot and you're like, this one's just like Billy Bob or something like that.
yeah, it can be whatever name you want it to be, just so you remember it when you're over at the anvil,
But
so
Yeah.
that's
like,
what's so hard about competitions is you go to a competition and you're like talking to a guy from a different area or something, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I kind of drew an Eleanor, and so this is what I did." And you're like, "What the fuck just happened?
Fuck
Like,
Eleanor.
what did he do?"
yeah, that's why it's like it definitely be weird, so like I'm not trying to set like a um a name card, for
No.
go to, but like that's just what goes through my mind, just so that, especially match play, like
Oh yeah.
like if it's like a clubby square, it goes straight out, like a bold toe, and then goes straight to the quarters, and then like got late wrappy heels, like so
That's what I'm thinking of as Billy Bob.
yeah, if that's Billy Bob for you, it's Hillary for me, big hair and a
No.
pantsuit, so
Sounds about right.
so I think about that when I pull my measurement and I go to the chop saw, and I'm like, all right, Hillary, here we go. It's like, got the pantsuit on, no
It's gonna
quarters.
gonna be a wrestling match, just
Yeah,
the
yeah,
whole way.
yeah. We're gonna argue this whole time, and and so, but that's just, I think, that just helps you with being efficient. So like match play, people hate match play, people love match play. I think that if they do good at it, they love it. If they don't do good at it, they hate it. You know, I've had contests where I'm like out and out. You don't even win one round, and then I've won a couple match plays. So it's kind of a love hate relationship, but it teaches you a lot. Like, so I try to match play every day at work. Like I only give myself one opportunity, to go to the foot. That's all you have in match play. You don't get to look at it on the foot and go back and change something. So it's really cool to see match play get judged at how many shoes get put on that foot that are nailable. And it's like,
Yeah.
wow, that's people that are holding themselves accountable, with the time they had at the anvil. And if you apply that at work, you'll be surprised at how efficient you can be. You can just limit yourself to one heat per shoe, even if you're just shaping keg shoes. Come out and pull a clip and shape it up. And it's like, all right, what's that characteristic about that foot that I need to make sure I covered? Is it that one late quarter? Is it the high medial quarter? Is it, what is it? Did I get it? You better say yeah, before you even go over there.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
usually if you go over there, it goes right on. It's like, oh, that's cool. So next thing you know, you've gone through a couple horses and it's not, making good time in the day.
Your wife hasn't caught you in the middle of the night, like talking about, oh, Eleanor, and wonder, like, who the hell is this Eleanor you're talking about?
No, no, she hasn't done anything like that. But she's my best critic though on shoes. Like I'll be in a shop all night trying to make an auction item or something like out of aluminum, and I come in the house. It's like 11:30. I set it on the counter, and she's like getting ready to go to bed or whatever. She looks at it and she's like, "It's racked." Puts it back down, walks off.
Oh,
Like,
shit.
like, you kidding me? I look at it and I guess she's right. It's racked. I gotta start over again. Like I can't
Those
show up with
those
this suit.
copper ones you made not too long ago were pretty freaking cool too.
They were fun, and that stuff I got half by one copper on Amazon. It was like $1 or $50 a foot.
That's what I was wondering. Where did you find copper
Yeah,
like that?
yeah. It was a 3 foot stick for $150 on Amazon. I was
The
like, well,
most expensive place you could probably possibly buy copper.
I know. I looked around. I couldn't find like that big of a section anywhere. Like, well, let me look on Amazon. Why not? They got everything else.
Wonder if
They had
Amazon's
that.
got concave.
But
Well,
I don't know.
Carl, I appreciate you taking your time out of your practice, away from your family and your evening wife time. I know, like for me, that's a nice time to wind down and hang out with the family. But we appreciate you taking your time with us.
Of
And I
course.
think there's some really good tidbits in here for everybody trying to be a competitor or just trying to be more efficient in your everyday work and holding yourself accountable. So, thank you very
Yeah.
much, man, for spitting some knowledge at everybody,
Yeah,
including
Yeah.
thank you,
Yeah.
myself.
Carl.
I feel like we haven't even been on the phone that long. So much to talk about. But I enjoyed it. You guys do an awesome job with the podcast, and a lot of good information's been delivered to you guys. It's been pretty cool. I've enjoyed listening to them and look forward to the future ones.
We
We
appreciate
appreciate it,
it.
man.
Thanks,
Yeah,
Carl.
Yeah.
thanks, bud.
So, yeah, man, we'll see y'all soon. Be good.
Sounds good.